Hello, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube. I am Clementine, and as always, I am Super Saiyan. But never mind that. In this video, we're gonna take a couple of scrap pieces, bits and bobs from around the house, and make an Alumitone style pickup from copper. The copper tone. Then we'll slap it in a testing mule guitar and see how that works. I will show and explain the entire process in detail. If this sounds like something you might be interested in, stay tuned.
Buying footage.
Okay, so before we start this project, let's talk a little bit about Alumitone Pickups. Here's a simple illustrated representation of an Alumitone. It looks complicated, but it's actually very simple, and I think that was done on purpose for marketing reasons. It's simply a bent sheet of aluminum with a couple of cuts on it. These two dark squares that you see on the Alumitone Pickups are simply little windows that show a rubberized magnet. It's very similar, if not exactly the same, as that super cheap roll magnet that people put advertisements and decals on that's probably stuck to the back of your vehicle or your refrigerator right now. This piece of aluminum has been cut in a way as to create a one-turn coil. It's really no different than taking a piece of aluminum speaker wire and just bending it into a U, except for it has more surface area and mass. Now this illustration is of a humbucking pickup which has two coils. So there's one on the bottom just like the one on the top, except for the little magnet window is either under the wound strings or unwound strings on each coil. This could be so that the two coils are given a stronger output on either the wound or unwound strings, as not to cancel each other out when in the humbucking configuration. But personally, I think it's just to make the pickup look more cooler and complicated. In a normal humbucker, you would connect the two coils together in series like this, but it won't work with this type of pickup, and I'll explain exactly why that is a little later in the video. For this experiment, we'll be making a single coil as a simple proof of concept, but instead of aluminum, I'll be using copper. It's easier to solder to, it's easy to work with, and I happen to have a scrap of it. And honestly, just to see what it sounds like, I personally think these pickups are only made out of aluminum so that it doesn't corrode, and mainly to differentiate these pickups, create mystery and excitement, and have a unique feature to point to for overhyped marketing of an extremely simple and cheap to build product. This is a sheet of thin copper flashing. You can get this at Hobby Lobby or most any hardware store. If you don't have or don't want to use copper, you could use sheet aluminum, aluminum roof flashing, a soda can, or even aluminum shielding tape or aluminum foil would work. I'm gonna take these heavy-duty scissors from Harbor Freight and cut this copper flashing into a U shape to create a one-turn coil. Now that that's cut out, I'm going to set it on a piece of pine flatwork made from a scrap 2x4. But for this you could use plastic, cardboard, even thick paper would work. Since this is just a simple experiment, I'll roughly mark that out and cut it out with the scissors. Now it's time to solder the first output wire to the coil. The wire I'm using is pretend copper wire from an old television set. That brown goop in the little orange tin is plumber's flux, and I'm sure the internet has told you you don't use plumber's flux on electronic. But as I've stated before, it is the greatest invention since the vagina. If you're ever using this in a serious capacity, scrub it away with strong rubbing alcohol after soldering, because it is slightly acidic and conductive. And this is a Harbor Freight industrial strength soldering gun. I'm sure you've also read that you're not supposed to use this on pickups because it'll demagnetize the pickup, but where's the magnet? Now watch how well this combination of the strong soldering gun, the flux, and this true lead solder, you know, the poisonous stuff, actually works. That thick copper plate will act just like a solder wick and just suck the solder in there, and then it will dry to a chrome finish. Then it's the same thing on the other side. Now that the coil is finished, yes, it really is that simple. See what I mean? Marketing! I just take some 3M double-sided tape and stick that piece of copper flashing to the wooden flatwork. Now it's time to flip it over and install a magnet. This is a 60mm N94 neodymium magnet. All those internet guitar dude experts that don't do experiments will tell you that these magnets are terrible for pickups. They're too strong, they have ice pick highs, and they kill your sustain. But I do believe the past experiments and pickup builds on this channel have proven those statements to be false. I think this all goes back to marketing and business practices. They want you to desire Alnico because Alnico magnets are very expensive. But with some experimenting and a 5th grade level knowledge of physics, you can design and build a pickup around a neodymium magnet to get an Alnico tone. The strong magnetic field of a neodymium magnet causes an overwhelming bass response, and the fact that this experiment doesn't have the added bass of a humbucker configuration or the coupling capacitance of all the winds of wire found in a normal pickup coil bleeding off all the high frequencies, it should be a really good thing. I mean, think logically. It's gotta be better than a rubber refrigerator magnet. Alumitone! So, let's hook it up and give it a tap test. Oh no, nothing. I've failed you guys. We still lack one component, and that is a step-up transformer. The output and impedance of this pickup is way too low for a guitar amp. Let's go to a clip of a video that I did a few years ago talking about how a transformer works.
Let's take a look at how he does his work. His skeleton is solid magnetized steel, and his muscles made of acrylic-covered solid copper wire. When an alternate current signal enters the wire on the left, it vibrates his iron core and is received on the right. It's magic, but I'll tell you what's really magic. If you double the amount of copper wounds on the right side, the input will be amplified.
This is an output transformer from a tube amplifier. I just happen to have this in the junk closet. It's likely that you don't have one of these. So you can take a wall wart and take a hammer and bust it open, and you'll find a step-up transformer inside. It's actually a step-down transformer, but you can run it backwards. The lower voltage output of the wall wart, the better. And if you live in Europe with high mains voltage, that's even better. Now that this is hooked up, let's do a tap test. I apologize for all the interference. I'm surrounded by 110 AC wires, fluorescent videography lighting, and there is a DSLR pointed right at the pickup. So, now that we know that that works, we can cut a piece of double-sided tape and stick that pickup in the testing mule guitar. Now all we have to do is put the transformer on, stick some screws in it, wire it all up, and we're ready to do a test. Alright. It works, but as you can see, picks up a little hum and a lot of noise. If you point a phone at this, it's a tick 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 tick. It's very able to pick up electromagnetic interference. I did try to run a loop in here and ground it to the original ground like they do on the actual Alumitones, but it was using the windings in the transformer as a capacitor, and it really killed all the high end. But with it like this, it's great actually. I had to turn the amp up a little louder than normal because this is not the exact right transformer. It would be a lot better for it to have a little greater ratio. It's kind of telly. Acoustic sounding, since there's no potting here, so you can hear the body just a little bit, but that's equaling up to a very acoustic sound. It's good for this kind of stuff. focus too. Not a whole lot of touch sensitivity. It's kind of there. It just like knocks louder when you hit stronger. Like boom. This would be good for some. Well guys, that just about does it for this video. If you found this educational or entertaining in any way, please like and maybe subscribe. There will be many more pickup experiments in the future. This was an experiment posed by a viewer. Bash Chelik asked if I could try a DIY Alumitone. If you have an idea you would like to see tested, drop a comment below. I'm Clementine. You've been watching Heavy Metal ATC. Till next time!